Andy, great to have you on again. Good morning. Hope you're well.
Well, Bo, we changed our time slot, so not live on YouTube anymore at 7 a.m. Central. Thank goodness. It's not now. Every episode drops at 2 p.m. Central. So
well, that's a good move.
Your guy on the bumper talking about how great sleep is.
Yeah,
I actually get some now.
Yeah, so. It's a deal, man. It's a game changer. Have your producer, whomever does work for Andy Staples, go on Spotify and change it. Give me an update, because I just read it off Spotify.
You got it. The great River Bailey will be changing that today.
Now, do not go to any of my profiles. I look like I'm 32 in my profile picture. I don't think I've changed it in like 15 years, so I'm not being critical, and we all need to spend some time updating
I think you're ageless, Bo. I mean,
yeah.
I've seen you recently. Like, you don't look any different.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. I'm wearing a ball cap and some facial hair to kind of try to, just fight it all off. But we're about done with empty Saturdays, right? We went through our last empty Saturday of no college football. Maybe we could start talking about games, Andy, but then I saw the Big Ten. What is this proposal? The Big Ten wants all of college football in the playoff now.
Well, basically, this was sort of one of those no bad ideas, back of the napkin things.
Yeah.
Where the Big Ten commissioner is like, I have this idea that nobody likes, so I'm going to double down with a worse idea. And he said, okay, well, why don't we expand the college football playoff to 24 or 28 teams? And somebody who he told, and it's because basically it hadn't really been talked about outside the Big Ten. So somebody in the Big Ten sounded the alarm and leaked this. This patriot said, we're going to snuff this idea out in the crib and make sure once the wider world heard about it, everybody's like, it's the worst idea ever. So hopefully just exposing it to the light of day will make sure that doesn't happen. And look, I'm a person who always thought that the playoffs should get bigger, but I always thought there was an upper limit to how big it should be.
Right.
I think they're there. I think 12's fine. I would be okay with 16 because it doesn't add a round. Like you would add 4 more games in the first round. But don't go any bigger than that. Like the thing college football needed when it had the BCS or when before the BCS when you were just voting on who you thought was the best team, was they needed something where the best teams would be forced to play at the end of the season. They got that now. But it's telling that even before the 12-team playoff play day down, they were already trying to change the format again. And I thought last year was fun. I'd say let's roll with that for a little while and see what happens, which if they can't agree on something, they probably are going to roll with it for a little bit longer. So maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, I think the adjustments they made, with the seating, that's what we all wanted to see happen. And now let's go there and see what year one under that format looks like. Same format, but different seating. I don't know if a lot of people in your position from a national perspective spend time thinking about this, but sitting in this chair talking to Arkansas fans and thinking about where most of college football is outside of the traditional powers, is there a way? Is there a doable way, I guess, to make more teams feel like they have a chance going into a season? Because it seems like we're always, we're going to be talking about the same 6 or 10 teams competing for the college football playoff championship.
Then you want a 28-team playoff because more teams would feel like they had a chance.
I don't think that's the answer.
But here's the thing. I think with the 12 or if they go to 16, you will get that in places. I think in Arkansas's case right now, it just feels that way because they're kind of stuck on this plateau. But we actually had a conversation about this on the show quite a bit. I think, especially with as big as the conferences are, they can only support so many good teams at a time. And right now, Arkansas is not in that mix because Ole Miss is good, Missouri's good, and Vanderbilt's better. So Arkansas and Kentucky are now suffering because of this. I think it's cyclical. It'll come back around and be a situation where Arkansas can win. Like if there's a 16-team playoff, there's a 9-3 Arkansas team out there that probably gets into it at some point. And that's the thing. I think you've got to give schools like that a feeling that they do have a real chance every once in a while. I'll give you an example. So Minnesota just extended PJ Fleck's contract. and it's through 2030. And we were talking on the show about what does success mean? How would you define that as a success if you get to 2030? And I said, if he's made the playoff once, just once. And I think that would do it. But I think with this format, you can feel that way because you can have a special season. I like with Arkansas, if we go back to the Petrino years, when he's the head coach, not now.
Yeah.
But they would have made the playoff twice in this 12-team format.
Yeah, and a couple times under Houston Nutt.
Yeah.
If we want to go back, I mean, those years have been there, and it has been cyclical. And by the way, Pittman's got a 9-win season since coming here and 3 bowl wins. He had the 3-7 COVID start off of Chad Morris. And then he had, a season where he made a bad hired offensive coordinator that fell apart and they won 4 games. But other than that, they've been going to bowls and he's won 9 games. And I think people here are like, but we gotta do something dynamic or we're not going to get there.
But, and I understand that because that's what the Arkansas fans wrote in to us when we were talking about it on the show. Because I said, hey, you guys are probably going to grind through coaches because you expect a lot. And the situation is going to make it hard for a guy's going to win 9 games like Sam Pittman did, and then you're going to expect 10 and 11, and it's really, really hard to take that step, especially in a 16-team SEC. So that's the part. But they said, and they were right. They're like, look, it's happened before where we can be this good. But I think right now you've got Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss, you've got Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri. They're the ones doing it. From that, teams that were that traditional level. And so until they drop off or Arkansas hires their version of that, it's going to be this way.
Yeah, well, Missouri's got an easier schedule almost every year than Arkansas does.
But that may change.
Yeah. Well, again,
right now,
a good cycle. That's part of the cyclical nature you're talking about of having the right team at the right time. Somebody else is not having a great year. I mean, it's just math. It's a math problem.
Yeah. And the other thing is the schedule thing. It doesn't look like the SEC's going to 9 games for the next couple of years because if they were, they would have probably already done that. And the clock's ticking on that. Greg Sankey said that probably by September they need to know what the playoff format's going to be, or they're going to have to just go with the 8-game schedule. If they go with the 8-game schedule, I think probably you're just going to see them flip what they've done the past couple of years, which means that the teams that had the easier schedules, which would be Missouri, Texas, Tennessee, would get the brutally hard schedules, and the teams that had the brutally hard schedules, like Arkansas, Mississippi State, Florida, Oklahoma, they would get easier ones just because of the luck of the draw.
Hey, by the way, is Ole Miss, what are they going to be this year, in your opinion? Last year, so much talk about them. And Arkansas plays them early, like the 3rd game of the season in Oxford.
So they're a really interesting one because I don't think they're going to fall off the map. Like the thought was last year's the year. This is they went and upgraded on the D-line. They had the veteran quarterback, and that was going to be their shot to make the playoff. And then they lose to Kentucky and they lose to Florida, and they don't make the playoff. But I don't think that's it for them. I don't. I really, really like Austin Simmons, their quarterback, who is, he's in his 3rd year on campus. Lane will go in the portal and get somebody if he thinks he needs somebody. He didn't even think about going in the portal for a quarterback. He loves this guy. And I think there's a chance they could be pretty good. They still did a lot of work in the portal. They didn't get that, Walter Nolan type splash out of the portal, but they got a bunch of good players. So I wouldn't be shocked if they're still in the mix for a playoff spot.
Yeah. It'll be a tough game early for Arkansas. They got a brutal schedule, obviously.
Yeah.
But that game is like one of those pivotal things that you feel like could give you some momentum. You got to go to Memphis after that. Then Notre Dame comes in. But I feel like they really got to figure out a way to go 3-2 in that 5-game opening stretch. Andy Staples with us, the Andy at RA podcast. He said, it's going to be tough.
Well, also, just beat Arkansas State. Don't lose to Arkansas State.
Well, it's another one. I mean, this schedule, and I think that's part of what Hog fans are freaking out a little bit about before the season even starts. Like, oh, it's going to be 4-8, 5-7. I mean, I said this with like in the middle of summer. If they win 6 games with this schedule, I think that's a really good year. And then people want to say things, well, that's settling for mediocrity. What do you think?
I think people need to adjust their expectations to the new sizes of the conferences. Because what Oregon did last year, like going through the Big Ten undefeated, I don't think we're going to see that very often. Yeah. I just don't think teams are going to be able to do that.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be hard in the SEC and in the Big Ten. And if you get a bad draw, or in the case of Arkansas, where you have at Memphis and Notre Dame are 2 brutally hard non-conference games. I mean, that's just, you should not be thinking, oh, we got to be 11-1 or 10-2. Like, there are going to be good years that are 8-4 and 7-5 where you were good. It's just that you played a lot of good teams, and it's interesting because I think, Bo, when we were babies, when we were elementary school,
mm-hmm.
teams played good non-conference schedules. It was understood that you just played a bunch of power conference type teams, and sometimes you lost 4 games or 5 games. Not everybody had to be undefeated. Once the BCS started, it was this race to be undefeated. So people started scheduling crap in their non-conference. And people's idea of what's good and what's not changed. And I think we got to get back to that. And it's almost like you need to embrace a more NFL-type mentality. Like, hey, if you're going to play good teams every week, and in the NFL, even the bad teams are good because of the way the rules work, you're going to take losses. Like, the idea of being able to go 11-1 or go undefeated, it's just not going to be possible for most teams.
Yeah, it's a great point. Our expectations are still in one filter, and the filter's changed, but we haven't really changed with it in the way that we think. I mean, a good and great season, we're talking about the difference in 2 games maybe in a lot of cases. I mean, that's not a lot. And that's a touchdown here, 1 possession game, swing, whatever. Andy, always great stuff. Appreciate you getting up, making time for us. We'll catch your Andy and Ari podcast wherever you get it, on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get podcasts, and on YouTube at 2 o'clock every day, Monday through Friday. Thanks, my man.
Thanks, Bo.
Appreciate you, brother. Take care. Andy Staples, On3. You can read his stuff there as well. One of the best college football reporters out there. I mean, I've known Andy for a long time. Does incredible work.